A comment that I pulled on our YouTube a few weeks ago from an episode a couple weeks back, I had shared with Raeleen. And Raeleen was like, I want to actually prep a little for this. So we got this comment from Notes from Haley that says, I have never read anything by Stephen King. I would love to hear which ones Raeleen recommends. So Raeleen.
Oh my. Well, let me grab my stack. Give me a moment.
Please.
Okay. This is sitting on my lap. This is how tall the stack is. Okay, so they're in no particular order. I picked out 10 because I know in that episode a couple weeks ago, I said you could probably read 10 Stephen King books and then kind of be like good to go in terms of like seeing everything he has to offer, because I feel like he does get a little repetitive sometimes. A lot of his themes are the same throughout his books, just kind of told in different ways. But anyway, I will take you through my definitive list of Stephen King novels.
Wow.
I deliberately did not choose On Writing because I think everyone should read On Writing anyway, but this is the novel list. Okay. So, first up, we have The Long Walk, which he published under the name Richard Bachman. He has a handful of books that were under the name Richard Bachman. They're called the Bachman books. You can get those all in one bind up if you want. This is kind of like I feel like this is a really good entry point, especially for people who love dystopia, like the Hunger Games and stuff like that. I feel like this is a really good entry point because it's kind of like a teen book. It's about a bunch of teenagers who have to go on this long walk, and the last person surviving, the last person walking, is the winner of like $100 million or something crazy. So it's kind of action adventure sci-fi-ish vibes. Then we've got Mr. Mercedes, which is the first book in the Bill Hodges trilogy. Bill Hodges is one of my favorite characters he's ever written, and I love him so much, and he's great. But there's also a lot of other, there's like 3 or 4 other characters who have kind of transcended and like appeared in many other books, including Holly Gibney, who his newest book, Never Flinch, is about Holly. So she first makes an appearance. This one is like a murder mystery, really dark. Like I would say really, really dark. Okay. If you want like a really dark murder mystery, this is that. And also that one is not supernatural. I won't say that the rest of the series isn't necessarily a little bit supernatural though. Okay. Next up, we've got The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which is a book that I like. Back when I first started reading Stephen King, never thought I was going to read this one. I was like, it's about this girl who's obsessed with like a baseball player. Why would I care about that? But it ended up being one of my favorite books by him, particularly the audio book. It's about a little girl who's like 7, I think. She's out on a walk with her family and she gets lost in the woods. And then she's kind of just trying to find her way back, and some weird stuff starts to happen in the forest. It's super, super good. Love that one. So yeah, that's one of, I feel like, yeah, we've got a good range here, like books that are about little kids, books that are about old men, like we've got all sorts of things going on.
I wanted to ask, the one that is the first book in a trilogy, do you have to read the other 2, or does it stand on its own? Is it a good, can it be a good standalone?
I would say both. Yeah, both work. Okay. Like it definitely could stand on its own, but there's kind of like a finality to reading, particularly the third book. It's weird. The second book is kind of like a weird sort of disconnected story, but it's still like about Bill Hodges. But the third one really finishes the arc that starts.
And you like the 3? You like the trilogy?
I do. I would say the second one I like a little bit less than the others, but the first one and third one are like top tier Stephen King. Okay, really good. Next up, we've got The Green Mile. This is one that is, I would say, a classic in Stephen King's repertoire. Like this one is different from his other books in a lot of ways. It's not horror. It's set in a prison. There is a bit of supernatural stuff going on, but it's really about the people, and it's not like it's not scary. It's like it's scary in different ways, I guess, but it's more sad more than anything. So this one, it's really emotional, really, really good. The movie is also awesome, but I really loved the book. Next up, we've got Misery.
Yeah.
Obviously, gotta have some classics in there. This one is just another classic, like non-supernatural. It's just 2 people. Like there's really only 2 characters in this book, and it's about obsession, and it's spooky, fascinating, gets a little gory at times, but just a couple of times. It's not like a horror fest throughout the whole thing. It's mostly suspense, I would say. Next up, I've got kind of a weird one. Oh, Christine. This is the one that is about a sentient car. And this is one that I was not expecting to like, which is another reason I feel like I want to recommend it, because it was just so unexpected. And like it's about this young teenage boy and his best friend, and basically like the main character is he's just this guy, and his best friend sees this car, and he's like, I have to have this car. And the guy is like, it's not for sale. And he's like, no, I need this car. And he ends up getting the car, and then he starts to change. He starts to act weird, and then people start dying, and it's like, what's going on here? That's another one that has a really good audiobook. Next up, we've got The Shining. So
classic.
You've got to read it.
I always forget that he wrote that.
I know. I feel, and this is one that I wouldn't even classify as like one of my all-time favorites, but it is one that I feel like you've got to read. Like, it is quintessential King. You've got to understand what the Overlook Hotel is all about. You've got to know Mr. Torrance. Right. And yeah, it's just iconic. That's one I've been meaning to reread for a while, actually. It was one of the first ones I ever read, and I feel like that could be why I didn't like it as much, because I wasn't like ready for King yet, you know? I wasn't ready for King. All right, we're getting down to the last few. They're all really thick ones, so they're taking up a lot of space on my lap still. But okay, we've got It, which for many years was my favorite Stephen King book. And I mean, one of his largest. This is one that I read like 7 or 8 years ago, maybe at this point, but really love this one. This one I feel like does the best at packing in everything Stephen King kind of does with a lot of his books, which is like, so Pennywise the Clown, you know, he's this horrible guy that comes around every 27 years, I think it is. And he just like wreaks havoc on this small town in Maine, but he feeds on fear, which is the most interesting thing about this book, is that like he feeds on every type of fear there is. So like there's people who are racist, there's people who are homophobic, and he's like, yeah, you're bad, I'm gonna eat that up. Like, you've got a fear within you that, so it's not even just about being scared, like actually scared of things. It's like, it's all sorts of things. Like, Stephen King has really gone deep with that one. So I feel like there's a lot more to it than people realize. So love that one. And now we're down to my 2 favorite ones. So first up, we've got The Outsider, which is one of his sort of modern books. It came out in like 2013 or something like that. So it's not super new, but it is a newer one. And this is the book of his that I honestly think about the most. Like, randomly on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I'll be like, just thinking about this book. Like, I don't know, it haunts me a little bit. And this one features the character Holly Gibney, who I mentioned from the Bill Hodges trilogy. And she's like a detective, basically. Like, she is very smart. She thinks in different ways than a lot of people. And so she like solves crimes in an interesting way. And she sort of specializes in supernatural crimes at this point, because that's what keeps happening to her. And this one is also really grim, really dark right from the get-go. It's about this like spooky creature that basically like can turn into anyone and starts framing people for things and just doing dark stuff. But it is such a good book. And last but not least, everyone probably sees this coming, 11/22/63.
That's what I was waiting for. Yep.
This has become my favorite Stephen King book. This is another one that I have never been able to stop thinking about. And it's different from his other books because it's about time travel. But it's also, so it's not like, it's not really horror. It's more of a sci-fi book. It's about this guy who goes back in time to try and prevent the murder of JFK. And so it's historical, which I didn't think I was going to like, because I don't really like historical fiction. I don't really know much about the 50s and 60s. So I was kind of like, what am I getting myself into? But it's so fascinating. And like the people he meets when he goes back to the past, and the way he feels so connected to them, and like the things that he's willing to do for all these people is like really what is like the heart of the book for me. And like, it's so beautiful. There's a scene of him and one of these characters like just dancing, and that's the thing that sticks with me the most when I think about this book. I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. I just think about them doing their dance. Oh, it's so nice. So that is my kind of definitive list of like the top 10 that I would recommend the most.
I loved that, Raeleen. I feel like it's so beautiful when we get to talk about like our favorite books or like our favorite author, and I could feel like that was a well-considered list. So thank you for sharing that with us. That was a really fun bonus.